Kathy, we've had a lovely trip down to the Flurio today because I'd like to introduce you and a whole lot of South Australian quilters to a very special person. She's been a big influence in my life, and I'm sure she's been an influence in lots of other people's lives. And you're in for a real treat today. Come on in. Vera, thank you for agreeing to spend some time with us today. You've treated us to morning tea and lunch already, and you know we're in that mellow mood for a bit of a chat. But before we get started, I just need your permission for us to post this video on our YouTube channel. Are you okay that we do this?
Yes, that's fine.
And you might become as famous as Cindy and Jane, you never know.
You never know.
Vera, I first met you probably 30 years ago, it would have been,
Easily.
when you were one of the owners of the Quilt Basket with Di Asherton, but you weren't the first owners. You bought it from the girls who started it. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how you came to be a quilt shop owner?
Well, having fallen in love with quilting several years prior to 1995, I did that year a trip with Lesser to America. And when I came home, Di and I had had a very small business, clothing business before, and we were looking to include our quilting. So we decided we'd buy a quilt shop. And this was the only one available. It was at Yankalilla and had been there for 12 years, I believe. But had five owners when we bought it. And they had done a very good job of starting quilting in the early years.
I remember that.
In the
yes.
80s. It started to come very available to everybody. So we bought the quilt shop and stayed there for 1 year, and then decided we'd shifted across to Victor Harbour, giving us a wider range of customers to, you know.
Lots of weekend visitors.
Lots of weekend visitors, lovely people.
So I suspect that owning a quilt shop back then was quite different to owning a quilt shop now. I remember you used to get fabric ranges once a year. Now it's pretty constant. Can you tell us about what it was like ordering, given that, you know, everything had to be imported?
Yes, but there were several warehouses available to us right from the beginning of our years. And we had regular visits from their representatives, and sometimes we'd meet them in Adelaide. And I think probably we were very lucky because the original owners told us how they used to buy dress fabrics. It was the only thing available when they started 12 years prior.
Yeah.
So I think we had it very good. From memory, I think we probably dealt off of at least 3, possibly 4 different warehouses, and they made it very easy to either come to us or we'd go down to town and have a nice dinner with them and order. If you ordered a complete range of anything, for instance, you know, there were times that we were able to use the fabrics in things that we wouldn't have even thought of because we had picked something that really appealed to us, you know, so we would go on.
So between you and Di, who did the most of the shop samples? Because I remember there were always quilts on display.
I think we probably split that right down the middle.
And was that an enjoyable part, or was it a bit of a chore to constantly keep up?
It probably was instrumental in me giving up in 1999, so I was there from 95 to 99, and it meant that we couldn't do a lot for ourselves. It was always something for the shop. So
I remember Di saying that.
Yes, so, and you know, I wasn't getting any younger, and Di wanted to go on, and that all worked out so well. She continued it on for quite a, I think she's been retired for 4 years perhaps now.
Yes.
I'm not sure, but so she kept it on and kept it going.
I remember that Di was one of the first people, I believe, who used up your leftover fabrics that didn't sell, to supply a block of the month, and it was the log cabin one with very countryish embroidery, applique in the middle.
Yes.
And that quilt, I think Di prepared for people for years and years.
Yes, she did. It was a very good. I can remember doing the first block and putting the four blocks together to leave the centre, and we were supposed to do half each, and I only did 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And then I stepped back, and Di had the job of doing the rest.
And I remember Warren cutting all of those strips, but what a wonderful way to use up fabrics that didn't sell, because once they're in a log cabin,
it was all country type fabrics, you know. And the fashions came with each time we bought, you know, ranges. It was something totally different, so we'd set off in another direction, and, you know,
That's
something
good.
like that.
No, they were good days, and you were one of the very few shops here in Adelaide. There weren't a lot, so we all
There might have been
came to visit.
4 or 5 at the very outside.
Yeah. They're good times, weren't they?
They were fun times. Look where it leads you, right through to. I had a wonderful trip to America with Lessa, you know, and then being in the shop for the next 4 or 5 years, it was just great.
You meet a lot of people, don't you?
Yeah.
You sure do.
Yeah.
Vera, you were one of the very first people that I recall who embraced machine embroidery. And we've got some quilts here from those days. I think I might stand up and you might like to tell us a little bit about them. Can I do this? Happy, can you get that?
Yes, beautiful, Chris.
Hang on, I'll try and spread it out. Vera, what can you tell us about this quilt?
Oh, well, Otto figured in my love of machine quilting because he had a visit from a mother and daughter from hatched in Africa, and their work was lovely. And after trying it out on an African quilt, which I think you might have there too.
Is this one here?
Yes, that
Can
was
you
my
show-
very first.
This one is a big one. I'll just show some of it.
This was a quilt for my daughter.
See if I can open it up a little bit. My arms aren't wide enough.
And I purchased a collection from Hatched in Africa, and played with it. I had a husband who loved his computer, and I had a sewing machine which I loved, so it was often a combined effort of something that we played around with on the computer and made our own pictures, and then I sewed them out and it went to my daughter.
Trevor was very supportive of your quilting,
I had
wasn't
a
he?
wonderful husband who supported me right through from my trip to America, and he never wanted to travel, and he came out one day and said, I think you should go on that trip. So I did, and it took me right through this period of time where I did everything in quilting.
The quilt behind us has got special memories for you,
Yes.
and I'm going to step back a bit because Trevor features very much front and centre for all of this, doesn't he? Would you like to tell everyone about this lovely quilt?
It's my latest quilt that I've actually finished in this size, and probably will be my last, I think. I love it, and it speaks to me every day, hanging on my lounge room wall. I've always loved the willow pattern, and because of the availability of these collections coming from Hatched in Africa, Trevor used to go off and play around with them, and as you can see, he's made some pictures using the willow pattern, but in the throes of making this quilt, they talked to me, and I included them in various ways, not in the traditional pattern.
Tell us about the fabrics and where they came from.
I was at Otto, Benina. Everybody knows Otto from Benina.
He needs no surname.
has just retired,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a sale on with the cream. It isn't usually used in a quilt. It was cream satin, and we were visiting one day, and when we were going home, Trevor said, "I bought you some fabric today," and I thought, "Oh gosh, what am I going to do with that?" So it sat around for quite a long time, and then he was playing with the designs, and I would fall in love with one or two, and eventually, I think every design, not every design, it came from Trevor's playing, because he taught my daughter how to digitise, and she's got a couple of rocks in there now, and my granddaughter is into quilting now, and I think one of hers is possibly this one here, where she played with the digitising.
It's got beautiful family memories, doesn't it?
It's wonderful family memories. At a retreat up in on the River Murray, I found two of the embroideries using the original setting. One finished and one not finished, so I managed to finish them.
These are the doilies.
Yes, these are those doilies.
Mm-hmm.
The other doilies have come from my collection is there, and then others. The flowers are flowers that were made by my daughter Melanie for her daughter's wedding, and they'd been sitting there talking to me and saying where we were going to put me. What else is there? She found this fabric, these small little figures in it that you've got to really be close to see. And I thought, I'm going to use that in it. And there's things like earrings that have been given me. Yes. Pearls is another love of mine. This was remains of a wedding dress lace, which sort of grew like topsy. It starts down here and runs right up through the middle.
It's an absolutely wonderful piece, Vera, and it was hanging in your exhibition in Harndorf, wasn't it, that you had late last year?
Yes, in October.
Lots of people admired it. They admired your whole exhibition. That was absolutely amazing.
Yes, it was fun. So I had 150 of my quilts on show, plus other work that I've done. And I've always said the fabric talks to me. And,
that's a gift in itself.
This is the result of all that. And the 3 different fabrics that I used in it has, I think, come together quite nicely.
It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I'm thrilled with it, but having most of the time 4 dogs in my house, I don't have it on my bed. So it had to go up somewhere, so here it is in my living room.
Perfect place for it. Vera, you and I began our friendship way back in about 1998 when the Quilters Retreats began, and after the first successful one, someone posted on the Yahoo groups, who wants to host the next one, and Pam Holland said South Australia will. And she put out the call, and there were about 18 of us that rocked up to her shed. Very few of us knew each other, but it was the beginning of a long and enduring friendship for most of us, because the theme of that retreat was angels. I can't remember the exact term, but somehow Pam was the mother angel or something, but it was very angel focused. And so after the retreat, we became the retreating angels, because we stayed on together and we did lots of retreats over the years. But what are your memories of maybe that first Quilters retreat or your time as a retreating angel?
Oh dear, that brings it all back. We met and jobs were allocated, and my job, I remember, was to find the venue. And I went everywhere, saw a lot of places, and eventually I proposed to hold it at St Mark's
in North Adelaide.
Yes, the boarding college next to the
Near the
you'll have to help
cathedral.
me. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. And it was a very success from the day one.
It was.
Very good success, big success. And we had teachers from all over, like they hold it now, but it was our very first time. And when we decided the theme and all that, it just moved like clockwork. And I remember that was the birth of the, may I say, the dunny quilt.
It was.
Yes, that was our biggest effort.
It was.
And we all had an input.
The dunny quilt was created on a Saturday night.
That's right.
Over dinner at Jan Munsberg. We'd all imbibed a little bit too much wine, perhaps. And so there were little trips off to the loo. So we were talking about the different sayings for heading off to the loo, and we won't repeat some of them here.
No.
But those sayings are embroidered around a mock toilet roll on this quilt that's become the dunny quilt. Now the dunny quilt's currently in Hobart. It was on display late last year, so I think I'll bring it back to South Australia and go down memory lane and show some new people the dunny quilt, because we did get a bit famous. We won a sewing machine and money. It was, quite a featured quilt back then, wasn't it?
Yes, it's time to find a home for it.
I just don't know where.
No.
Urology department, maybe.
I can remember my daughter had a farm on the peninsula at the time, and I got the job of quilting it. So I took it over there where it was lovely and quiet, and eventually managed to get it done. It was a big job.
Talking about quilting, you were my very first mentor for machine quilting. I remember, and I was telling Kathy this story on the way down, I started to quilt a quilt and I made a thorough mess of it. It was all bunched up, and I rang you almost in tears, and the first thing you said was, well, did you stitch down all of the seam lines and sashing lines? And I had to say, no. So you said, unpick it, go back and stitch it. And then the next thing, I still couldn't get it quite right, and I was staying here with you for this weekend, and I said, Vera, can you please show me how you quilt? And you quilted ever so slowly and carefully, and that was my light bulb moment, because I thought you had to go like a rocket. And so you were the beginning of what's now my absolute passion, so thank you for that.
I'm glad it worked.
Vera, storing quilts can often be a challenge for quilters, but you've come up with the perfect solution, which is a quilt show in itself. You have got them piled on a bed, so can we have a quick look and you tell us a little bit about them?
Fabric chosen by my husband on our trip around Australia.
Oh, just stunning. More machine embroidery, so much embroidery.
Yes, this was on my bed at one stage too, before dogs.
Before dogs, yes, I understand that sentiment.
One of my great-grandchildren.
Oh, look at this one. Oh,
It's just fabric, that's all.
it's almost an I Spy of Australian critters, isn't it?
This
Oh,
is
another
a
African
child
one.
for my granddaughter.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Your quilts, you don't have a particular style.
this
Your
one's
quilts are
upside
so
down,
different.
sorry.
I'll spin him around.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
It is gorgeous.
That's one of my great-grandchildren, I think.
Now this has
looks
got
like-
a story.
Yes, it was just a piece of fabric that looked like a child had scribbled all over it with their drawings. And I had to feature it. It's just beautiful.
I thought you were going to say that it's the drawings of your grandchildren.
No.
Crazy patchwork. So this was a friendship quilt. So
This
one
one
of your
used to live
groups,
on
the
my
friends
bed.
each made a block.
No, I did the blocks.
You did them all?
I can't remember.
No, yes, friends at Port Elliot.
Oh, Port Elliot,
Yes.
when I used to go there, yes. And it's got all my, when my daughters were born, me and my husband, and all sorts of information on it all the way around. Melanie Jane was born.
I don't know how you had time to raise a family, Vera, with all of this quilting.
You'll have to crop this one out. More with the lace.
Hang on, what's this one? It's fallen off the side.
She didn't get that one out. More.
Can I get it out? We might just fold it out a little bit because it's a cross stitch.
Yes, and it was.
Check, Kathy, you might have to come close. I can't quite get it out. It's double wedding ring.
It's double wedding.
It's actually, it's right down the bottom, so we might get to it.
Get that one out.
Yeah.
I bought those blocks in America in 1995. Took me 2 years to do them.
And that's a lovely one.
This is why
it's a bit tricky. Yeah, it's folded over, isn't it?
That's probably
There we go.
Here's one of my
Vera.
triptych. One of my triptychs.
So this is a triptych. This is
I
one.
had
I'll hold it up, Kathy.
this one. When I retired, I threw that piece of blue down on the floor and played with making a vase of flowers. And when I made the smallest one, the same type of thing, they asked if they could put it in a magazine. And I didn't make any notes of how I put it together, so I had to make another one and
so
write the
they're the
instructions.
Did you have many quilts featured in magazines?
Yes, I've got 5 magazines, I think, that I feature.
I don't think we can get this. Oh yes, we can get this one out.
This one is a Christmas one.
This
8
is
days of Christmas, no, not 8 days.
12 days of Christmas.
12 days of Christmas, my true love gave to me. So they're all appliques. Oh, I love this one.
this is ridiculous.
She's talented.
God, it's so beautiful.
Teddy bears for one of my grandchildren. I now have 7 grandchildren, 3 daughters, 7 grandchildren, and the 8th great grandchild on its way.
What a wonderful legacy.
What's here?
And the best part is they're all carrying on the quilting
Yes.
tradition.
You'll have to cut these out a bit, won't you?
Oh my goodness.
That's one I made last year. This was a special block. What was it?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
This is
They're all so unique, aren't they, Kathy?
Oh, they're beautiful.
Spin that one around.
I mean, I think you're right, Chris. There's no single theme. They're all just
She tries
pure
everything.
artistic talent. That's what it
I bought
is.
this piece of fabric and it talked to me. I had this, who's that?
Stitcheries. Oh, a number of people did those. I'm not going to even try to guess.
This is one that, once again, my friends over in Dark Peak on the Eyre Peninsula, I used to go over there and teach a little bit, and they all made me a quilt for my 70th birthday. They all made me a block. For my
Yes, and you put it
70th
together.
birthday.
And what perfect background fabric for
I looked
a
for that
farming
for a long
community.
time. This is one of my, I love autumn colours.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Gosh.
And I love this business of coming out into the...
Yes, taking the design out into the
Yes.
borders.
And you'll see my quilting got better, look. You see that?
Ah, yes.
Oh, wow.
So that's my latest lot of quilting. This is one,
And you make all these on your bananas?
only Benina.
Yes.
This is one made by Sue Murphy. Do you remember Sue
I
Murphy?
do. She's one of the
And
Pandolf girls.
I won this in, she made this to raise funds
And you won it.
for a raffle quilt. She called it Jewel Box. In January and February 1995 she made it.
Well,
And I
Susan,
won it.
And you won it.
Susan
was my first
watches our
mentor.
videos, so
Susan Murphy was
she'll
my
see
first
that.
mentor. What else is there? Oh,
my little angel.
Oh.
this is Bow Tie, one of my favourite quickies.
Yeah.
Bow Tie. This is another
Keep coming and coming.
one of my favourites. And
Made from scraps with love. Isn't that
Made from
lovely?
scraps with love stitched in
Oh, love
and
stitched in.
finished with a posy. It starts here. This is a scrappy happy quilt to keep me warm and cosy. Made with love.
Made from
Made from
scraps.
scraps with love stitched in and finished with a posy. Like so. So
There's the rest
this,
of that one.
there's the rest of that
But I
one.
think it's a
This
got it
one
on the
here,
floor.
can we pull that? This is the second one of these I've made. The recipient of the first one was a member of the family, and he would be 35 now, easy. And I loved it so much that I had to sit down and do it again. So that will probably go to my 8th great-grandchild. Another autumn. And I got to the stage where I did a fair bit of making up little things. We say farewell to summer and the rains are not yet here. Autumn shades enthrall us and return to us each year. So that's an old favourite of mine, the Crazy Patch. That's nothing. This is what I made. I started it, designed with that by Vera Lloyd in approximately 1998 with the intention to use it as a class at the quilt basket. The first plot was completed at that time and then the project was put aside as an UFO. On my retirement in 1999, the UFO was resurrected and completed in September 2022. Don't you love it?
I do.
Henny Penny was on the nest. Now Henny Penny gets no rest. The chicks were told, don't be a pest, by Cocky Locky, cos he knows best. My favourite.
More embroideries.
More embroideries.
Oh, the embroideries are amazing.
Yes, these were Jacobean. Jacobean.
Now, of course, these are all labelled because they've probably been put here after your exhibition at Handel.
Yes.
Yes. Not everyone has labels on their
No,
foot, so I
no.
thought we better explain that.
And
Oh,
this is
yes.
the one.
This was in the magazine, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was this down under quilts or?
Down under quilts, all of them down under quilts. And this was my vertical row by row. Horizontals, no, vertical.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But this one is one of my favourites. Oh no,
No,
not
there's
this
a
one.
few more.
This is a
Fussy cut.
yes, fussy cut.
We're getting to
that's
the
a,
front.
that's a what's the name one? You know,
Half square triangle. Bedford.
Yeah, Bedford.
Bedford, yes.
That's an original. I used to teach that one. This is a cloth.
But here's your favourite coming up.
Here's my
Let's see if we can lift that back a bit so people can get it.
Oh, goodness sakes.
Stunning, Vera.
Melanie and I had a day, squares of this white fabric, you know, just plain. This is paint.
Oh.
This is paint. And we put it in, I put it in a ring, and then I wanted to have flowers and butterflies. So butterflies were put on it,
That was a lot of cutting out.
but then anything that intersected that line, I cut another whatever and put over the top. Do you know what I mean? Like this has got 2 butterflies in it.
Yes.
As that, as that, and so on. So yes.
It is stunning.
Do you do any hand quilting at all?
No.
Or hand sewing?
No, I
Or
never
machine?
have. It's all machine. Yeah.
And has this one ever been put into a quilt show? This one?
No. No, I've never shown that one.
Why don't you put it in this year?
Well, I encouraged Vera to do it last year and she put some in, so we'll keep encouraging
But that
her.
one. I mean, people would love to see that.
Yep.
No, this is just a...
A log cabin.
This is my first quilt.
Is this your very first quilt?
My very first quilt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's got polyester in it. There's nothing left of it. But it was my very first.
But I bet it's special.
Yes.
Well, yes, because I showed this when I was a member of the Woodpatch Quilters, and a man came up to me and he said, I love the colours that you've chosen. Yeah, you know, it's the best quilt there, he said. Of course, it wasn't. But,
Quilting's come a long way, hasn't it?
And that was my second quilt. That was a panel. I forgot that.
That's beautiful.
It was a panel.
Well, I can understand why you had enough quilts for an exhibition.
And this, I taught this so many times. Oh, God, yes. This is my third quilt, I think. This is part of a panel. There's more here than I thought. This is a good one, but I don't think I can get it out.
No,
This
it's
is
getting too heavy now.
my Australia.
Oh,
My
yes.
idea of Australia.
Shall I hold that up?
Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, wow. You're very clever, Vera.
Oh, I don't know. I just play. This
I
was
wish I could play like Vera plays.
Me too.
this I had to use. You know how we used to make these blocks.
Oh,
If
like
people,
a cathedral windowy style.
well, visitors came and we'd give them fabric to make this, and I introduced it to the so-what's.
But there's also a level of stickability here. I mean, a lot of people can do stuff but never finish. But all of those things that are finished are amazing.
And I ended up with 3 cushions that I don't think I did do.
Did you crochet the rug up there?
Yeah.
So you're a crocheter as well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
This is my very, very nice one.
That's
I like this.
gorgeous.
They're lovely.
That looks like a temperature rug.
What?
Temperature. You know, they do the seasons going from greens to reds depending on the temperature. Oh, that's beautiful.
I just put it together. And then taught myself how to put it together like this. I was making squares and not doing anything with
I think
them,
you've
so-
done an awful lot of teaching
Yes,
yourself
I
to do
reckon.
things, haven't you, Vera? Vera, this is absolutely inspirational, and I'm sure our viewers will love seeing your journey as a quilter in quilts, because it is just testament to the most amazing talent, and as Kathy said, the stickability to have done it
Stickability.
all of these years.
If I haven't achieved anything else, I've got stickability.
Vera, thank you so much
Thank you for
again
having
for
me.
the day.
Yeah.
Vera, can we have a little look in your sewing room?
Yes, fine. Come this way.
Oh, this is a Cindy and Jane scene normally, so I won't get you to talk about your favourite tool or anything, but I am going to ask you some other questions.
Oh, right.
It goes without saying that you've been a very influential quilter in the lives of many of us, and I suspect one of those groups is the So What's group. Now, So What's has got a very unique name. Do you want to tell us a little about the name first?
Yes, a previous customer from the Quilt Basket came one day and said we should form another group. Now, this was because I was retiring, I think. And she and her husband made up the name, So What's. And So is, of course, SEW. What's is everybody that wants to know what What's are, and it is women having a therapy session.
That's perfect,
So,
isn't it?
yes, it's been running now since 1999 when I retired.
And you do community projects?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little about some of those projects?
Well, they go to various places. A lot go to women's groups who need help, you know. And we work on them. We meet 10 times a year, and about 3 times a year is exclusively done with our work that go to these places. So I feel that we do some good with the thing that we love doing. So goes well.
Now I mentioned a little while ago that you've been influential in the lives of other quilters, but at your recent exhibition at Hahndorf, it was very evident that you have not only shown your love of quilting, but you've nurtured a love of the arts, textile work and other forms of creative work amongst your family, because at the back of the hall was an exhibition of all of their work.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family and their creative endeavours?
Well, it was decided that we would have this exhibition Melanie had been thinking about it for a fair few years, and she wanted the opportunity of showing my work to other people, and I said there has to be a reason. So we decided that we would raise funds for breast cancer, Melanie having been a breast cancer survivor, and it went on from there, so that the exhibition included something from everyone in the family.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about some of those somethings?
Oh, well, the vases of flowers came from Melanie. She's got a what would you say, a love of, no,
Textiles, fabrics?
She's got an artistic streak.
Artistic streak. She has an artistic streak. And she supplied about a dozen, I think, of the vases of various collections of fabric, and they were just, our trading table raised $3,300.
That's wonderful, isn't
And
it?
it was from things that the family had all done, plus a few of our So What's girls donated as well. So it was a very big success all round. And they were all exhibited in a flair that the girls put on, and even the grandchildren did something, drew a picture or did something that was on show.
It was a very, very
Yes.
inspiring exhibition. In
Yes.
fact, you've inspired, you've motivated, you've mentored a lot of quilters over the years. And as one of them, I'd just like to say thank you for the impact that you've had on quilting in South Australia, and for the impact you've had on the lives of so many of us. We're incredibly grateful. Thank you.
Oh, that sounds like I was tarred with a wonder brush.
You were our goddess. I won't go any further on that one.
I don't. No, it's something that has filled my life after going through all sorts of craft type work, knitting at 6 years of age and so on. I got to experiencing classes in Harndorf, read a shop there, run by 4 or 5 ladies too.
The quilting cupboard, was that? The quilt cupboard.
The quilt cupboard, quilter's cupboard, yes. And that just settled on me, and it took me to my love of quilting from overseas to, I've only had one trip overseas, and it just opened my mind.
It's been a wonderful quilting journey, hasn't it?
Oh, it has, yes. And yes, I had a husband who was very supportive, but he didn't like getting out of bed. So I had free range of a morning. I'd get up at perhaps 5 o'clock, and he wouldn't be out of bed until 8:30 or something, and I had all those hours every day. So, just...
That's the story of a dedicated quilter.
Yeah.
Vera, thank you so much for being a part of the Guild, and thank you for sharing this today.
I can remember my time at the Guild.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I did?
No?
Packed all the chairs away. After the meetings, another lass and I, that was our job, and we used to lay out 250 chairs and then have to go and steal them from the room next door. And, it was...
we haven't quite got back to those numbers, but hopefully we will one day.
I'm sure we will, yes.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.